So, what if I told you that there's a hidden influencer, kind of a microscopic puppet master, that's quietly living inside the brains of billions of people all over the world? Yeah, this is a wild story that connects our pet cats, the mice they hunt, and maybe, just maybe, our own behavior in some pretty shocking ways.
Look at that number, 30 to 50%. I mean, that is a staggering figure. And we're not talking about a flu virus or some common bacteria here. Nope, this is something else entirely.
That's right. Up to half the planet, billions of us, have been exposed to a single-celled parasite called Toxoplasma gondii. It's one of the most successful parasites on Earth. It's what's known as a classic zoonosis, which is just a fancy way of saying it jumps from animals to humans.
Okay, so what exactly is this tiny organism that billions of us are just carrying around? Let's get to know our tiny, uninvited passenger. Toxoplasma gondii is a microscopic, single-celled parasite, and here's the absolute crucial point you have to remember. While it can hang out in pretty much any warm-blooded animal, a bird, a sheep, you, me, it has this really special and very specific relationship with cats. Domestic cats, wild cats, they are its one and only definitive host. That means they're the only place this parasite can sexually reproduce.
And that brings us to its life cycle, which is, well, it's brilliant and also a little bit sinister. To really get how it gets into us, we first have to understand the incredible journey it takes just to get back inside a cat.
Okay, so think of it like a heist movie, right? You've got two main players. First, you have the ringleader. That's the cat, the definitive host. It's where all the real action, the reproduction, happens. And then you've got the getaway car. That's the intermediate host. Could be a mouse, a bird, or, yep, even us. We're just the vehicle the parasite uses to get back to the ringleader. So here's how the 4 steps of this heist go down. Step 1. An infected cat sheds millions of these little egg-like things called oocysts in its poop. Step 2. These oocysts aren't dangerous right away. They have to hang out in the soil for 1 to 5 days to mature and become infective. Step 3. An intermediate host, let's say a mouse, comes along and accidentally eats them. Inside that mouse, the parasite forms these dormant cysts, basically little sleeping pods, in its brain and muscles. And the final step? A cat eats the infected mouse, the parasite wakes up, reproduces, and the whole crazy cycle starts all over again.
So where do we fit into this whole picture? Well, we are what you'd call accidental intermediate hosts. For the parasite, we're basically a dead end because, it's pretty unlikely we're going to get eaten by a cat. We can get infected from handling contaminated soil while gardening, or from cleaning the kitty litter, or from eating unwashed vegetables, and that even includes those ready-to-eat salads. Another big one is eating undercooked meat, especially lamb, that has these dormant cysts in it. And this is really critical. It can also pass from a mother to her unborn child during pregnancy.
Now, with up to half the world exposed, you're probably sitting there wondering, okay, what's the actual risk here? Well, for most of us, the story's pretty quiet, but for some people, it's a very, very different picture.
Okay, so for the vast majority of people with a healthy, functioning immune system, this is pretty much the end of the story. Your body's defenses kick in, they force the parasite into those dormant cysts we talked about, and it just stays there, inactive, for the rest of your life. Honestly, most people never even have a clue they have it.
And this is a big but, there are 2 groups for whom the risk is incredibly severe. First, unborn children. If a mother gets infected for the very first time while she's pregnant, the parasite can cross the placenta and cause just devastating harm. It's a condition called congenital toxoplasmosis. Second, people who are immunocompromised. For them, their immune system might lose control, allowing those dormant cysts to wake up and reactivate, which can lead to really serious neurological disease.
And this risk? It's not the same everywhere you go. The rates of congenital toxoplasmosis vary dramatically around the globe. As you can see here, South America faces rates that are up to 6 times higher than in North America. And a big reason for that is the presence of more diverse and, frankly, more aggressive strains of the parasite down there, which can lead to much more severe outcomes.
Okay, but the direct health risks, that's only part of the story. This is where things take a hard turn into what feels like science fiction. We're talking about mind control. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, but the evidence we have suggests it's very, very real. Can this one tiny little parasite actually influence the actions of the animals it infects, including, just maybe, us? So the classic, most studied example is in mice. A healthy mouse is naturally terrified of the smell of cat pee. It'll avoid it at all costs. But what happens when a mouse gets infected? It loses that deep instinctual fear. In fact, some studies have even shown it can become attracted to the smell of its number one predator, which, of course, makes it an easy meal. It is a chillingly effective strategy for the parasite to complete its life cycle.
And the evidence doesn't stop with mice. Get this, a study on wolves in Yellowstone National Park found that infected wolves were way more likely to engage in risky behaviors, like leaving their pack early or even trying to become a pack leader. So what about humans? Okay, this is where it gets a little more speculative, but it is fascinating. Some studies have found links between being infected and increased risk-taking. For instance, business students have shown higher rates of infection than other students, hinting at a potential link to entrepreneurial traits. Wild, right?
Okay, so after hearing all of that, you're probably wondering what on earth you can do about it. Well, here's the good news. Prevention is actually pretty straightforward and it's incredibly effective.
The key is really just simple hygiene. Cook your meat thoroughly, especially lamb. Wash your hands really well after you've been gardening or handling raw meat. If you've got a cat, change the litter box daily. This one is so important because it gets rid of the cysts before they have that 1 to 5 day window they need to become infectious. Wash all your fruits and veggies. And here's one that might surprise you. Be a little careful with raw shellfish like oysters because they can actually filter the parasite right out of contaminated water.
And here's the most hopeful part of this whole story. One study that ran for 22 years found that by simply giving pregnant women a list of recommendations and reminding them of the risks, they cut the infection rate by a staggering 92%. It just goes to show you that awareness is our most powerful tool.
Which leaves us with one last, kind of unsettling thought. If this microscopic organism is living in the brains of billions of us, and if it has even a tiny, subtle influence on our behavior, how much of who we are is being shaped by this hidden persuader? How much of our culture, our appetite for risk, our successes and our failures can be traced all the way back to a parasite's ancient, desperate need to find its way back home to a cat? It's a huge question that science is really just beginning to answer.